Welcome to the Money Mentors Podcast.
Well, I don't know about y'all, but Michigan weather is here. You know, we've had it cold, we've had it hot, we've had it sub-cold. Now we're getting a little mild, and now the snow's coming again. You know, this is why I love Michigan. Don't get me wrong. I love the snow when I can play in it. I don't like it when I have to have hard work walking in it. And I will be one of the ones to tell you, I did fall this season already on the ice.
Oh, no.
And yeah, I have a bruised ankle and a bruised hip. So once again, I'm one of those. And so as we get into this January weather, I don't know how y'all feeling, but I'm thinking the sun might be a little bit better in the southern regions.
Yes. Maybe time
Not my southern regions either.
No. You've already found that out the hard way, unfortunately.
Definitely.
But yeah, it might be a good time to plan that trip to Florida or something like that. But what about you, Riley? Do you love the snow? Are you still at that age where you can kind of get into it?
Yeah, I think if it's going to be cold, we need the snow. If it's cold, there's no snow, it just makes it gray and cloudy and no fun. But if it's going to be cold, let us have the snow.
Yeah.
But do you play in it? I know you hunt in it.
I'll snowmobile, ice fish.
Okay.
But not so much going outside and making snowmen.
Okay.
He's a little past that age. I know you knew him from when he was young, Gary, but I think he has
wait till he has kids, and he'll be out there making those snowmen even bigger.
Yes, it comes back around for sure. But thanks so much for joining us here this weekend on Money Mentors. Gary Mattson and Riley Ruff here from the team this weekend. You're going to hear from more of your Money Mentors a little bit later on today's show. But as always, if you have questions for us about anything we discuss financially, a lot of you are still in goal-setting mode, I'm sure, for the new year as well. If you have those questions for us, get started at mattsonfinancial.com. That's always a great place to start. Or you can always talk to our team off the air too at 800-536-8907 about some of your initial questions. That's 800-536-8907. But guys, now that we're kind of settling into this new year, it's time to get used to some of the differences in the new tax code this year. And most of us will be working on our 2025 taxes coming up in the next few weeks and months here. But there are some pretty significant changes that Congress enacted that will impact retirees this year as well. So how do you see these particular changes impacting the clients and the families that you work with as you do some of this planning?
Yeah, the standard deduction is going up. I know for single filers, it increased $750, and for joint, it's $1,500. On top of an additional, if you're single, $6,000 with income limits, and if you're joint, $12,000, there's also income limits on that. But that really allows our clients to have potential of up to another $13,500 of additional income and staying in the lower tax bracket, or also if we're looking for tax planning, whether it be through conversions or whatever the case might be, that gives us an additional handful of years to really ensure that we're hitting the numbers that we want to hit for our clients to keep them in those lower tax brackets.
And a big thing you really want to understand is that these are not permanent. In other words, like when Riley was talking about the $6,000 Social Security tax break you're getting, I think that's only up for 3 years and then it goes away. So you really want to sit down with somebody that understands what's going on out there for these tax breaks and how it can affect your plan the best way possible. Like myself, I'm still working. I'm in my 70s. Just turning 70 this year, by the way. Just a young 70.
Yes,
I'll go with that.
Very young.
And so I'm not in RMD mode, required minimum distribution, at 73. So like Riley was talking about, I now can put more money into my 401k and IRA. And the thing to understand is that, again, I'm going to work past 73. That's my goal, at least, God willing. And at 73, when I have to take my RMDs out, I can still contribute to my 401k because I'm working. And that does not include to be in my required minimum distribution portfolio. So once again, that's money I don't have to take out while I'm working. So those are little tweaks that you really need to know if you're going to have longevity in the workplace. And if you're already retired, how do these new abilities you have to move money around affect you tax-wise? It's always great to have a plan, especially a tax plan. You can choose how much money you're going to pay in taxes. You don't get to choose what the market's doing and you're investing in it. The market's going to go up, the market's going to go down. You can choose how you react to it. And that's the same thing when it comes to taxes. You have available tools now, extra arrows in your quiver that you get to use if you get on it soon.
I think that deadline is super important because I remember, Gary, this time last year, we were thinking that our current tax rates were going to expire with a calendar on December 31st. And that window has been extended too. So while we're in these lower tax rates, they've added some of these new deductions and tax breaks for seniors. This is a really kind of tax sweet spot for a lot of folks.
Yeah, especially when it comes to required minimum distributions, these things are going to help you do a better job of lowering your taxes. One of the things that Riley likes to do, I know, and he can comment about it, but is taking your IRA required minimum distributions, instead of you taking that and using it for the charities you already like to do, like giving money to tithes, your church, and those type of things. By giving it directly from your IRA to that entity, you don't pay taxes on it, but you get to, again, meet the required minimum distribution requirement.
Yeah, that's some big tax planning that we really look into is if the clients have the income that they need and they don't need these extra dollars that might bump them up into a new tax bracket and they give to their church or charities, let's send it directly out of your IRA to those charities or your church, and it's not taxable to you, but then you're still doing the tithing and giving that you want to do throughout the year.
And maybe it's time to look at and see who's going to pay taxes. You're going to go, what? I got a choice? Yes, you can pay taxes, or maybe your children who are going to be your beneficiary pay the taxes. It may make sense to do the plan and look at it that may be cheaper for you to pay taxes and not your children, because most people, when they passed, they're going to be in their 80s to 90s. That means their children are going to be in their 50s to 60s at the peak earning power in their particular field. And then they get your dollars now, and they have to take it out over the next 10 years. Is that going to be too much tax burden for them? So once again, let's look at them and say, what's the best way to pay the least amount of taxes? I don't know about you all, but I don't care who you are. Whether it's my money going to my kids and paying the taxes, or I'm going to pay the tax, I still want to pay the lowest tax. Yeah. I don't care if it's my kids are going to have to be obligated to pay it or I'm going to pay it. I still want to pay the lowest tax. So let's put a tax plan together that works for generations.
Absolutely, because you are the one who worked really hard for those dollars. So for our listeners out there who want to get started and find out perhaps how these new rules could work for their advantage, how can they get started with us at Mattson Financial?
Well, if you saved at least $250,000 or more for retirement, or you're already in retirement with that same amount, call us at 800-536-8907. Now, if you're driving down the road, just have your spouse or somebody grab that lipstick and write it right on the window. That's not a problem. It'll come off. 800-536-8907. And you'll talk directly to one of our team members. They're going to set you up with an appointment, a complimentary appointment for a fiduciary advisor to give you a complete plan. That means that we're going to talk about Social Security. We're going to talk about Medicare. We're going to talk about long-term care, what happens to Medicare and Medicaid and how that could affect you. We're going to have a complete plan done for you to take you through retirement, once again, by calling 800-536-8907.
You can talk to one of our team members off the air at any point during today's show and set up that first visit right here in 2026. Let's get started. As you're getting some of those tax documents together, it's a great time to just go ahead and get this on the calendar as well. 800-536-8907. That's 800-536-8907. And we want to mention one of the big changes here in 2026 at Mattson Financial Services. You've actually brought tax planning in-house there in person. This is a huge change and one, I know you've always worked with CPAs and tax preparers, but this is something that's going to really benefit a lot of people who maybe don't have their own tax person that they've been working with, because again, it's always nice to have someone to go to right there at the office if you have a question.
Yeah, very much so. And it's been a piece that we've been looking for a while. But for us as advisors, if we're working on a tax plan for a client, we can just go right downstairs into our office and have that conversation and get an answer right away, where we don't have to wait for an email or a call back. It's very beneficial for us and for our clients.
Yeah, people love to say, I only have one place to go. It's kind of like, whether it's Myers or Target, everything's in the one house here, and you don't have to go anywhere else because we have the experts for each of those areas. Medicare, we have health insurance, we have investing, of course, and we have tax planning. So once again, if you have somebody great, hey, we want to keep them working for you. If you don't have somebody great, we have somebody great for you.
Yeah. Absolutely. So if you'd like that referral, again, as we head into tax season, set up that visit at Mattson Financial Services. You can ask about that when you talk to one of our great team members off the air today. Again, that number is 800-536-8907. 800-536-8907. Or simply set up that 15-minute phone call to go over some of those initial questions with our team at mattsonfinancial.com. That's Mattson with 2 T's, financial.com. But up next, we'll help you with your travel wish list for 2026. Some ideas for some really nice vacations and ones that don't cost too much either. Plus, do you think you can make it in retirement on $100 million? We'll tell you about one guy who doesn't think he can. It's next, right here on Money Mentors on Wood Radio.
Want weekly lessons from your money mentors? Yes. Hit the subscribe button now and listen every weekend on Wood Radio.
Thanks for checking out the Money Mentors podcast. If you're making travel plans, something that we all like to do, especially this time of year, as we're kind of looking out and thinking about the year as a whole. Well, USA Today says price is not always synonymous with a life-changing travel experience. There's some good news for you. Tourists tend to spend the most in places like Luxembourg or St. Lucia, places like that. But on their list, Vatican City and Mozambique are on the very affordable list. If you're looking for somewhere to go that, doesn't cost quite as much, but still delivers that kind of great experience you're looking for. So, Gary and Riley, I'm sure that your clients share their travel plans with you. So what's on some of their travel wish lists here in the near future?
Yeah. In fact, we have a client that's kind of what I call the jumbo list, if you want to put it on the list. And this one kind of hits all 8 of their major requests that they want to do all in one trip.
Okay.
So, it's on a private jet. There's 48 people on this jet. There's a doctor. There's catering done, a special chef. You go to each of these 8 cities, you spend 3 days there, and you're kind of seeing the highlights of around the world, and you're done in 30 or 34 days, whatever it takes to do that on this trip. So that's, look, like I talk about being on the high end of things. I mean, experience the wonderful. And then we have people that are just saying, you know what, I'm going to go camping across Route 66. I've always wanted to do that, and we're just going to meander and pull in where we find ourselves. And both are just intriguing to me.
I love that. Have you seen someone take maybe a budget vacation, though, and still have the greatest time?
Oh, absolutely, because really, travel isn't about the destination. It's about the experience. At least that's what it is for me. And I don't know about you, Jennifer and Riley, but I know I've been on some trips and things didn't go as planned. Like Nancy and I went on a river cruise, and we thought the cruise ship was supposed to stay there past noon. And we got back to the ship about 2:00, and the ship left.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and Nancy's going freaking out. We're in a foreign country. And I go, no, you're going to handle this. And she goes, what do you mean? I said, you're going to handle this. And so, again, she found a person that spoke English, found out where that the ship was docking next, got us a taxi. 45 minutes later, we were all good. But once again, we still talk about that experience because, again, it didn't work out what's supposed to have happened. And we made it through just fine. So same things on the holidays. You probably had the holidays or something didn't go right. Maybe the turkey got burnt or the pie, kind of slushed over the side and didn't actually end up the best. But those are the best stories, aren't they?
Yes, they certainly are. So again, look for the positives when you're on those trips like that. But we like for you to start putting those dreams, goals, desires list together. And especially while we're in this new year. And if you have that goal in mind of taking that dream trip, or even if it's something like just, getting the RV out and heading across the country. We like to hear those stories too. Hit us up online and share those lists with us at mattsonfinancial.com, or you can share those lists too with our team off the air today. And let's set up that first meeting to talk about how do you start making those plans happen at 800-536-8907.
And Jennifer, one of my favorite client stories of doing this very thing is that the couple were kind of missing each other through the night through work. I mean, he worked long hours, she worked long hours, and now they both retired at the same time, and they took the next 6 weeks off, went traveling by car from Michigan, Florida, Texas, and came back for 6 weeks. And they said it was like a honeymoon, and they really got a chance to talk about their future together in retirement.
Aww.
So it was the best vacation they had except for their first original honeymoon, and that's one way to start a great retirement.
Oh, that is. I like that idea. Spend that time reconnecting and, maybe talking too through how's this thing going to work with both of us and all that quality time together. But I love that story. That gives a lot of us, I think, a lot of hope. But we like to talk about different stories too about, getting you to and through retirement. And a lot of people, I think, feel afraid to take that trip because they're not sure if they have enough money saved. Well, let's say someone pays you $100 million to do your job. You think you could probably make it last the rest of your life, right? Even take a few of those big, enormous trips. Yeah. Well, apparently, guys, not Odell Beckham Jr., the former NFL wide receiver, made waves recently by suggesting on the podcast The Pivot that for pro athletes, he says it's really not that simple.
I always explain this to people, like, bro, you give somebody a 5-year, $100 million contract, right? What is it really? It's 5 years for 60. You're getting taxed. That's 12 a year, that you have to spend, use, save, invest, flaunt, like whatever, however, just being real. I'm gonna buy a car, I'm gonna give my mama a house, I'm gonna do, everything costs money. If you're spending $4 million a year, that's really $40 million over 5 years, 8 a year. And now you start breaking down the numbers, it's like, that's a 5-year span of where you're getting $8 million. Can you make that last forever?
Now, even some of his NFL colleagues criticized his comments and say he's kind of out of touch with a lot of people. But others did come to his defense saying that your spending increases with your income. So that's what happens to these players. So, I want to know your take on his comments there. And then, isn't this a question, though, that everyone has no matter what they make while they're working? I mean, how do they make it last when they stop working?
Yeah, first off, I agree with what he said. The more you make, the more you're going to spend. And when you have somebody in the public eye like that, there's extra expenses you may not realize that you're going to have. Give an example. I'm sure that he has people that will protect him and keep the public away from him. I had the privilege of being out in Las Vegas, and I saw Michael Jordan sitting over there on the side of the pool. And I'm, like many people, thought, well, I'll just go up and say hi, Michael, and get a little snapshot.
Uh-huh.
Well, as I'm approaching him, 3 gentlemen came up and said, no. And I'm like, I was 30 feet from him. No, I couldn't even see these guards until you started to approach Michael. And let's face it, he needs his downtime too without being in the spotlight. So again, those are costs that go that way. And he's very original with what he said about talking about taxes. $100 million, 40% is going to go away in taxes. So that's $60 million right there. Yeah. Now you start living your expenses. I mean, look at these guys are playing the NFL and they're getting their houses robbed. They're going to have better security, all these things going on, and to protect their family. So, yeah, you have a lot of money. You're going to get a lot of friends. Just not going to be like that much.
Mo money, mo problems. We've heard it, Riley, right?
Yes, very much so. And I always like to say, too, like from our standpoint, whatever the set dollar is that you have, it's making sure you have the plan in place to ensure that's going to last you forever and not, hey, you're getting that $100 million now. Let's go buy the cars, the houses. Let's put a plan together prior to, spending it all and making sure it's going to the right places.
Yeah, and I've had a couple NFL people out there that have talked about this, and they didn't change their lifestyle at all. When they got the contract and all that, they just banked it and then started investing it. But they lived that $60,000 to $100,000 lifestyle all the way through the NFL. They were well grounded and married at that point in time. And that's the thing is that, we call it Corvette University. When you give somebody that's young a lot of money, including myself, I sold my first company when I was 17. So you give somebody a lot of money, and it's 4 wheels, red and fast, or Corvette University. That's the first thing we look for. Oh, you're going to get a car, you're going to get a house, you're going to get these things. But you really got to look beyond that. And we've had clients struggle with this when they're retiring with $2 or $3 million because the company's done well in contributions for them, and they put their money in, and they look at this, and then the spouse says, oh, look, I can be Santa's wife and just buy everything. and they start watching the money go down. There's a reason that 78% of the people that win a lottery go bankrupt.
It's so true. And I know we probably have some listeners out there who are rolling their eyes saying, oh, I just wish I had these problems, right? I wish I had that NFL paycheck or a lottery win or something like that. But I go back to what Odell said, too, in terms of, just ordinary people, too. I think as we make more during our careers, which hopefully, you naturally progress, right? Your paychecks get higher over the course of 30 years of working or more in the workforce. Your lifestyle also creeps up. We call it lifestyle creep for a reason. And then when you get to retirement, much like these NFL players, you don't want to give up the lifestyle that you've created. Even if it's a modest lifestyle, you don't want to take a step back. And so I know that's actually how you approach it in terms of planning that income for your clients. You don't want them to take a step back either.
Absolutely not. In fact, we put together a report that's called a Compass Report, and we want to show that increase in lifestyle money each and every year because inflation does happen. In other words, let's say you came to us today and you're retired and you have $2 million. Our goal, after giving you income and paying your taxes, is still have your assets grow at a minimum of 3% over the next 24 years. So if you started with $2 million, we want you to have $4 million.
Nice.
And people are looking like, well, I don't want to give that much money to my heirs. That's not something that's my priority. I said, but if you want to keep the lifestyle you have now, we have to increase the value of those assets, because even if you're drawing at 6% like you did in the beginning, a new car is going to cost you $120,000 versus $60,000 versus $30,000 when you first retired. So we have to have that availability to make that pot grow so that you can maintain that income.
Yeah, what I really enjoy about the Compass Report is it really gives the clients a great idea as to what their spending limits can be to ensure that if they do want to pass the legacy on, that they have those dollars to pass the legacy on. It projects out their income. We can put in, if they want to go on that vacation, a trip in there and show them what that's going to do to their portfolio when the money is coming out of their portfolio. But it just really gives the clients a very good picture of what they can expect and predict throughout retirement with their portfolio.
But for our listeners who, want to see how the numbers look for themselves, how will this pile of money, whatever it is that they've saved for retirement, how will it last? How can they get started on that Compass Report with us?
Well, if you saved at least $250,000 or more for retirement, call us at 800-536-8907. We're going to put the three things together for you called the 3 Ps, and that's getting a plan, a plan, and a plan. We want this to be a complete plan that you can take, know that every part of retirement has been taken into consideration, and you can go through retirement and be satisfied that you can enjoy your dreams, your goals, your desires. Call 800-536-8907, and they'll take your information, they'll tell you what we need, and they'll schedule with one of our fiduciary advisors to get that set up for you complimentary.
Again, that number is 800-536-8907. Reach out to our team members at any point during today's show. Mention you heard your Money Mentors here on the radio, and we'll make that complimentary for you to get started. 800-536-8907. Or schedule that phone call through our website this weekend at mattsonfinancial.com. But next, the tax rules are changing again, but are things any simpler? Plus, what dollar figure would it take to make you feel comfortable versus wealthy? We'll get into the numbers next here with you as the Money Mentors continues on Wood Radio.
You're listening to the Money Mentors Podcast.
Couple of easy ways to reach out to your Money Mentors. If you have some questions for us, easy to do at mattsonfinancial.com. You can simply set up a 15-minute phone call to go over some of your initial questions there, or reach out to our team at 800-536-8907. We flash back now to the mid-'80s and what seemed like a really simpler time for a lot of us. We were still actually talking about the very same issues. Here's what then President Reagan told Tonight Show host Johnny Carson about the issue of taxes way back when.
We ought to have tax reform, and we ought to start by making it so simple that you don't have to hire a lawyer to find out how much you owe every year. Johnny, we live in the only country in the world where it takes more brains to figure out your income tax than it does to earn the income.
You're right.
Isn't that true?
It is so true. And it hasn't really gotten much easier over these last 4 decades. But now we do have things this year like the One Big Beautiful Act that's changing the tax rules for retirees yet again. So how do you help simplify this for the people you work with so they get to keep more of their hard-earned money?
It's funny because we had this conversation with our client, and they've been a client for a while, and we've been doing IRA to Roth IRA conversions, and then he hit the age of required minimum distributions. And he says, I'm so happy I'm here now. And I go, okay, really, why? And he says, because all that tax stuff we had to deal with every year and all the calculations, I don't have to deal with that anymore. And I go, really? That's what you think? And he goes, well, yeah, isn't it true? No. Why? Because they keep changing the rules. They change the factors. So we've been working with his CPA over the years, the families, and of course the CPA says the same thing. So it's always going to be a factor that you want to have somebody in your team that talks taxes. You can be your CPA, but you want your CPA talking to your financial advisor and talking to you, because these are things you can control. You can control how much taxes you pay based upon if you set your portfolio up the correct way. So once again, I told him, nope, we're going to look at this every single year for the rest of your life. And if they change it, we're going to have changes with it. And if they don't change it, we're going to maximize your income and minimize the taxes. And he looked at me and go, I think I understand that now. I get it. We're going to deal with this, but we aren't. You and my CPA are. I go, exactly.
Yes. I'd much rather let you all handle that. I'm with him. Again, it's something we don't necessarily want to think about. At the same time, I would imagine right now, a lot of people are interested to see what their numbers look like based on some of these updated rules. We, after all, have that larger standard deduction for seniors right now. Things like your Social Security taxes can be impacted by that, Gary. There's a lot of exciting changes with some of the changes that Congress just made for people. Are you going through that with your current clients right now?
Yes, and then we're finding things that clients wish they did change. I give an example. We have a couple clients that are selling their home. Their primary residence are going to downsize and move. And that same $500,000 exemption for the profit you've made in your home above what you paid for it is still the same. It has been that way for several decades now. So what happens is if you make more than $500,000 profit on the home, you're going to enter capital gains territory. And there's things you can do legally, honest, and ethically to make that change. But once again, that has not changed and is really becoming a real concern for people that have really been in a home a very long time, and they've seen their equity go way up because of rising costs in land. Yeah. But again, there's things that have been changed. I mean, give an example. We had a gentleman come in last week, and he says, I'm starting required minimum distribution age, so do I have to take money out of my SEP and go through this? And I answered him, if you've got a retirement account tied to your workplace, and you're still putting money in that while you're still working, that's exempt from required minimum distributions. And he going like, whoa, that's the only one I've got. So I don't have to take anything out of it? Nope. As long as it's tied to your workplace and you're still putting contributions in that because you made money, it doesn't matter how much, that's exempt from required minimum distributions, and we can put it down the road a little bit longer so you don't have to take money out of that from a tax point of view. Nice. That was music to his ears because he's thinking he's going to take it out and have to give it to charities because he doesn't want to pay the taxes on it.
So again, might be pleasantly surprised by some of the things that have changed. And for our listeners out there who do have some of those questions right now and would like to be maybe connected to some of the CPAs that you work with there at Mattson Financial Services, I know you're all things retirement there and can help with those questions. How can they get started with us this weekend? By calling 800-536-8907. And if you're driving on the road, just tell your wife to pull out the lipstick, write it on the windshield, on the corner of the windshield maybe, 800-536-8907. We don't want an accident or anything. No. But by calling that number, you're going to talk to one of our team members. And they're going to schedule a time for you to come in and see exactly the black and white of your plan. What I mean by that is that how much income do you want? How much is coming off of your assets? How much taxes you're going to pay? How are your assets growing? And what should they be growing to make sure you do not run out of money?
So once again, if you've saved $250,000 or more and you want to see that complete financial plan, including taxes, call us at 800-536-8907, and we'll do that for the next 5 callers that request that.
800-536-8907. You can talk to one of our great team members off the air right now. These sessions are in high demand right now because, again, we've been getting a lot of questions about this big, beautiful bill. How will that affect me? Here's your chance to get those answers. 800-536-8907. Or you can actually request the handout, too, through our website at mattsonfinancial.com. We've put together a really helpful guide, just a one sheet on how some of these rules are changing. If you want a copy of that, just shoot us an email through the website. Again, that's mattsonfinancial.com. Well, think about this question. What amount of money would make you financially comfortable? And what amount would make you feel wealthy? A new survey by Charles Schwab puts the comfortable number around $800,000. The wealthy number, though, is $2.3 million. That's a big difference, and I would imagine those numbers differ for just about everyone who comes into your doors, Gary, and so do the comfort versus wealth goals, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. You know, we have some clients come in and they have a pension. And they say, well, we don't have a whole lot of money to invest, but we have these great pensions. And I go, that's money. That's big money. They go, oh, okay. And they're a little startled at my enthusiasm. Well, if you took that pension and divided it by 6%, that's how much money you would have to have set aside to have that pension money come in every month. And they're looking like, okay. I said, that's like equal to $1.5 million.
Wow.
And they go, oh. And then we show them how we can make that permanently for them and their spouse, and then pass that pension on to their children and grandchildren. Then they get real excited by those numbers.
Yeah, because that's not usually an option, right? Passing it on.
Nobody talks about it, that it's available. And definitely the pensioners aren't going to talk about that. So one thing that Charles Schwab did when they did this survey, they really wanted to know what that wealth meant to them. So 45% of the people said it's all about happiness. Not about much other than that, saying, I could be happy with this much money. What that mean? That means you're content with what that money will do for you. And that's the key to retirement happiness, is making sure you have the assets of the dreams, goals, and desires you designed for, you worked all your life for, and can you have that lifestyle? That's the key. And at Mattson Financial Services, that's exactly our goal when you walk on our door, is make sure that that works out for you that way.
And so, again, we want you to have that kind of comfort level and to understand, you know, even if you still have that pension, what does that do for you? And how can you take control of those dollars? As Gary mentioned, a lot of times you have maybe more options than you even realize with those benefits too. So again, if you want to take advantage of our special offer this weekend, sit down with your money mentors. Let's run through the numbers. And then you can see there in black and white, are you comfortable with what that monthly income looks like over time? And they're going to show you what that looks like over 20, 30 years or more in retirement, really stretch those things and show you some of the worst case scenarios too, so you can get a real idea of what retirement looks like for you. You might come away from that meeting thinking, hey, I'm in better shape than I thought, or hey, I just need to make a tweak here or there, and I'm set and I feel comfortable and ready to retire. That's what we want for you listening today. So again, if you want to set up that first meeting, do that during the break here. 800-536-8907. Or you can schedule a 15-minute chat with our team right there through the website at mattsonfinancial.com. Simply click that Schedule Now button there. Again, that's Mattson with 2 T's, financial.com. But next, which investment has soared more than 60% this past year? We'll have the answer for you coming up next as Money Mentors continues right here on Wood Radio.
Getting you not just to, but through retirement. This is the Money Mentors Podcast.
Thanks for checking out the Money Mentors podcast. You can get to know the entire team at Mattson Financial. Just do a search for us, Mattson Financial Services, or find us at mattsonfinancial.com. MattsonFinancial.com.
And we've got a great team here at Mattson Financial Services. You hear about the advisors and Laurel and I and Taylor and Gerald and all the advisors and all that, but we can't do what we do without the great staff we have. We've got a great team members from the day you walk in and meet somebody at the front desk to the day your money comes over to the day it's invested. We take great care of you, and we're very proud of that factor. We want to do that, but you truly are family to us. And so many times I have people come in and they're meeting with another advisor, and I'll go in and I say, "Hi, I haven't met you yet." And they're kind of looking at me, "Oh, I didn't know I was going to meet you." But they say, "I've been listening to you for years." And I go, there's more family out there. There's more people.
Yeah.
And we just feel wonderful that we can actually create the plan that gets them through retirement each and every time.
We love it and appreciate you listening. You're part of that family, whether you've called into the show or not before, but whenever you're ready for that moment, we think you're going to like that difference you experience in person too at Mattson Financial Services. So feel free to get to know us. You can do that online anytime, of course, at MattsonFinancial.com. But if you're at that point and you know you just want some help with that retirement plan, you want to come in, get to know the team, set up that first visit, 800-536-8907. We would love to see you there. And each week here on the show, we like to dive into financial headlines, explain what it really means for you and your investment strategy. And it's interesting, guys. Many consider gold a safe haven asset when things are uncertain, which they certainly are right now, but there are other options when it comes to protecting our hard-earned dollars too, when we feel like certain stocks or other asset classes are a bit too risky. So where do you think those best safe havens are when we're talking about that right now?
So many times that's what we look at is people are coming out of a bad term of the market, whether it's 2020 when we had COVID or different things going on, and they're really looking for those safe havens. Unfortunately, they tend to sometimes, if they don't get good information, make bad decisions. And gold could be one of those. One of those things I don't like about gold, especially for people that actually hold it themselves, is not becoming an investment then. They're called hoarding it. What I mean by that is when you buy gold, you have to pay commission to buy it. You have to pay to store it, and then you need to pay to sell it again. While you're doing all that, when's the right time that you're going to sell gold and reinvest in the future? If you don't have a plan in place, it's now a hoarding situation. So we have precious metals available within our portfolios, but we have other things that we can protect your assets and have it invested in a portfolio that carries risk like a stock, but also we have downside protections, and these are called buffered indexes. So what it is that you have an asset you're holding into the market, and if the market goes down on the date of maturity of your asset, they guarantee to give you all your money back, and is guaranteed by an investment bank. So we've seen these guarantees from 100% guaranteed all the way down to 20% guaranteed. Obviously, the more guarantee they're going to give you, the less they're going to give you in profit. That makes sense, just like it does with anything else. But sometimes we have people go to annuities, and they say, I sat down with a person that sold annuities, and they told me this insurance product was really good for me. And don't get me wrong, we sell annuities as well. But you got to understand the negative of those as well. And that means that you could have less money in your account when you redeem it and make nothing on annuity. It could happen that way. Yeah. So you got to look at what you want to do, what's your plan, take advantage of those areas that you can, but make sure your portfolio is flexible so you have the income and cash flow when you need it for the things you want to do. And that includes when the market's up as well as down. So when the market's up, here at Mattson Financial Services, we're going to harvest gains. And when the market's down, we're going to be in position because we have other items, investments other than stocks and bonds, so we can buy into the market. In fact, recently, this last week, Riley and I were talking about a specific area of the market that we looked at it and said, okay, it went down below $2 a share. And we personally invested in it, but we put that out to our team members and our family out there and adjusted portfolios accordingly so we could be taking advantage of that for our clients as well. So when there's a buying opportunity, we want to be able to do that, have a position to do that. And then also when the market's up, we want to be able to get those gains and harvest those so you never run out of money in retirement.
Love that. And again, finding that diversified portfolio is so important, and especially at times like this. But think about this question. Which is the better investment long term? Is it real estate or is it things like stocks? Well, a Motley Fool analysis recently finds that over the past 30 years, stocks have actually increased at 4 times the pace of home prices. But I think a lot of people today do consider real estate a good asset class, especially based on the last several years of home price increases. So how do you see that in terms of a piece of that portfolio construction?
I'm going to start with buyer beware. The reason I say that is that we had a client many, many years ago came to us and they were sold some property that they bought speculatively. And they knew that Myers, the big, stores that we have around here, was going to buy into this community. And this was the land they were looking at. And it was true. They were looking at that land very, very closely. Well, what happened when they got close to actually buying the land and putting it together to put a store there was wetlands there that they could not get around. And so with those wetlands there, they never actually opened the store. So these people held this land for almost 20 years.
Wow. Oh.
And they sold it for 3% over what they paid for it. So once again, you can have great information, everything being on track and go sideways, like you can with any investment. Mm-hmm. So you really want to do your due diligence, but have a diversified portfolio. A diversified portfolio does include real estate. These are what we call alternative classes of investments. That could be real estate, private equity, hedge funds, even commodities. Of course, we like crypto too. I mean, we're vested in crypto as well for our clients, and we've seen that do well. And then you have, your electronic wallets are out there, to hold these crypto type stocks. So once again, real estate does play a portion in that. But again, it hasn't performed as well as stocks over time. And what we're doing in retirement, we're going to be in it over time. Generally 30, maybe 35, 40 years. If you're like my mom, who just passed at 101 years, 10 months and 15 days, 68 days away from making it to 102, she was in investments and retirement much longer than she was working.
Yeah. And so sorry to hear that. I know we've talked about her so much here on the show over the years, but again, you put that plan together for her to allow her to live comfortably in retirement all those years. And that's what we want for our listeners today, too, to have that kind of confidence that, no matter what they're invested in, that it's going to work for their plan and help them meet their individual goals, their dreams, their desires, all those things that we talk about here every week on Money Mentors. So for our listeners this week who really want to get started on that kind of plan that works for them and for their life too, how can they get started?
If you save $250,000 or more to invest at retirement, give us a call at 800-536-8907. Now, if you're within 24 months, 2 years or less of retirement, you really want to get the plan in place now. Because the biggest thing you don't want to do is work up to the time you're going to retire and then the market take a dip and you can't retire yet. We can show you how that even if the market goes negative, you're still in a great position to take advantage of that and have the income in retirement that you plan for. So once again, call us at 800-536-8907 and remember the 3 Ps we keep talking about. Plan, plan, plan. You need that plan in place so you can be assured that your plan will work to get you through retirement.
And Riley, it's really kind of a painless process. You really go to work behind the scenes once that first meeting is over so that the people don't have to necessarily get too involved in the weeds. You do it for them, but you come back and they get to choose then where they start on that plan.
Yeah, very much so. Behind the scenes, we have a lot of time and, number crunching involved in that to give the clients a custom plan fully that fits their situation and what they want to do in retirement with their dreams, goals, and desires. At the end of the day, we're just one big family and we want everyone to make out the best in the end and fulfill what they would like to do throughout retirement.
I know, Riley, one of the greatest calls you'd like to take is when the market's negative and people are calling in and they're not calling in to ask, how much they're losing or that. They're calling in asking,
what are we going to buy? It's on sale.
Yeah, what's on sale? Where are we investing next? I'm excited about what you're going to do with our new money that we've gotten and where are we going to invest in next to get the next rise in the market.
Yeah. So we'd like for you to experience that kind of difference in that investment philosophy at Mattson Financial Services. services. Again, if you want to take advantage of the special offer this weekend, our team will be standing by for a few minutes after today's show right now at 800-536-8907. That's 800-536-8907. Or you can always go online and schedule a 15-minute phone call with our team just to answer a few getting to know you questions there at mattsonfinancial.com. Click that schedule now button there. And be sure to join us here again next weekend for more lessons right here with your money mentors.
At Mattson Financial, every plan starts with our 5 pillars: income, investments, taxes, health, and legacy. Together, they create your Mattson Map, a clear path to get you to and through retirement with confidence. Because when all 5 pillars work together, your plan works for life.
And it's not just for you, it's for those that you love. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.
Want weekly lessons from your money mentors? Yes. Hit the subscribe button now and listen every weekend on Wood Radio.
The opinions expressed in this program are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual or on any specific security. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult your financial advisor prior to investing. Any past performance discussed during this program is no guarantee of future results. Fee-based financial planning and investment services are offered by Mattson Financial Services, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Insurance products and services offered through Lakeview Financial Group, LLC, Mattson Financial Services, LLC, and Lakeview Financial Group are affiliated. To find out if Mattson Financial Services is licensed in your state, please call 800-536-8907.